I want to talk a little bit more about um, Camilo and how did you get to AWS and a little bit more about your background, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, actually.
So how did you end up at AWS?
Well, that's I think a very
It's a broad question.
no, it's a interesting story. I feel very lucky, how I actually ended up at AWS. Um, I was working at NVIDIA,
Hmm.
very closely, with the leadership team there on self-driving cars.
Hmm.
So I was doing automated driving. We were building actually similar infrastructures. I worked on the vehicle reference architecture for NVIDIA, which is called Hyperion.
Hmm.
We used to call it VBA at the time. So I got to build cars all over the world in Europe. We had some vehicles in our garage here in Japan, in China, US. So that went really well, and then because of the success of that, we were sort of tasked with, how could we validate and verify the autonomy software at scale? And if you have test cars, you couldn't have thousands of vehicle fleet
Yeah.
to do that. So we came up with a hardware in the loop simulation infrastructure.
Hmm.
So a 2 server box that would go in a data center, and it had a simulator. At the time, we built it using Unreal. So that went really well, but obviously it was a data center sort of hardware, so there was a cloud aspect to it. And right around the same time that AWS was launching AWS RoboMaker, they have been working very closely with the Open Robotics team. Actually, it's a very interesting story. Luis Puga, so that Christmas actually so I was watching what the AWS team was doing, and I saw the launch.
Yeah.
And then that Christmas, I actually had Christmas dinner with Luis Pubel,
Hmm.
who was one of the lead, Gazebo developers.
Yeah.
And I think Karsten Canis was there too. And Luis was telling me how she was working with the AWS team. She had a great time with the team. And I think that's how I got sort of connected.
Nice.
And then, yeah, that's sort of how I ended up through the open source community.
Yeah. So
Pretty much I ended up at AWS, and at the time, Adrian Kokoroff, who has been a tremendous open source champion. Adrian was a lead architect at Netflix,
Mhm.
who was instrumental in getting Netflix to use AWS. So Adrian was building this open source team that would work directly with the communities, and he messaged me and said, "Hey, you want to have coffee in Palo Alto?" And I came up, have coffee. I had a conversation with him, and I think the reason why he hired me is because I kind of understood, the critical problems of the community.
Yeah.
And he said, "Great, well, you know this, then let's hire you to go help fix things," which I didn't realize that's where that conversation would lead. But yeah, you never know. So that's kind of how I ended up
great.
at AWS.